Stop fucking with Generation Z. Just fucking step off. I mean, this constant shit about people recording the disasters of Gen Z and staring at a fucking display capture so high and mighty over Generation Z. Come on. Just come on. You don't know their situation. In fact, when you talk about lazy generations, let me cue you in. Every generation out there had a lazy motherfucker. Okay? Every single one out there. Even the GI generation, as badass as they were and are. Okay, so stop fucking with Gen Z. And if we want to get on the topic of lazy, why don't we just talk about what they were born into? This is what Gen Z was born into. They were born into a cell phone thrown on their fucking lap and go, here you go. You might as well just give them a bottle of whiskey. And I don't know if you know this, but cell phone usage excessively directly impacts the psychology and the development of a human being, especially when you give it to your kid. So watch your kid. The kid didn't ask to be born into this shit. Second, the debt, man. They were born into excessive debt. I've been in the financial industry for 20 plus years, and I know exactly what debt can do to somebody. Not only a young kid, but an adult, an old person, anybody. Third, all they know is a computer screen. I mean, their access has been completely truncated, taken away to say, hey, don't go outside and play. Here's a computer for you, and this is what we're going to do. Isolated the whole aspect of social integration. Gen Z did not invent cell phones. Gen Z did not hand the fucking phone to themselves to use. The parents did. Gen Z did not write up a national debt.
Don't they? Don't they start shaking?
Right, you got to have good insurance, but
Yeah.
yes, it's a problem.
You actually walked in to a new Gen Z hire that'd been there like a week, and they had their feet up on the desk.
I walked into their office.
Oh, don't put
and
your
sort
feet
of,
on the desk.
Jumped back a
Uh-oh.
little bit
Might
because
have a little
literally her
fun.
feet were kicked up on the desk. She had brought in her coffee maker in the back, had like a little blanket. I'm like, wait a minute, this is a law firm, and so what are we doing?
Eric, you had one that showed up dressed like Harry Potter, posting videos.
They were doing Harry Potter TikToks. Yep, I can't make this up.
I'm going to show one last clip. This really defines condescending viewpoints. I think it's a little extenuating, but let's take a look.
That this young generation seems less capable to deal with stress than previous generations. That is true. And so they're really good at presenting a confidence that they don't have. They sound like they have all the answers when they don't. It raises the question, is that bad? The grass is always greener. You have people who are going from relationship to relationship to relationship, worse from job to job to job to job. And when I was younger, if you didn't like your job or if you didn't like your boss, the bad news was you had to stay there for a year, because if you left in anything less than a year, you would hurt your CV. They'd be like, why did you leave in under a year, And now again, particularly young people, there's no stigma to quitting. And it happens sometimes too quickly. I've seen it happen, right? Or I've been here for 4 months. I don't like the culture. I quit, right? Or I got in trouble at work. I hate my boss. I quit. And so people are quitting so much. My fear, I don't mind if something's super toxic. Get the heck out of there. Most places are not super toxic. Imperfect, yes. But toxicity is like
Most places are not super toxic. Okay, so let me add some correction to this shit. They are. I've been in the corporate world for 20 plus years, only work for large corporations, and they are really toxic. I can tell you from personal experience, I spent 60% of my day dealing with, let's say, crap emails, easily offended bosses, dictatorship. My boss used to sit at my desk when I used to go take a piss. The workplace is seriously very, very toxic.
Like, there's a standard, you know, and it's a high bar. And or this doesn't fit my values, or this doesn't agree with my politics, I quit. My fear is that if we flash forward 5 years, there's going to be a disproportionately high number of people who have 8 jobs in 5 years. And what's going to happen is an employer is going to look at them and be like, I can't take the risk that you're going to stick around. I'm not hiring you. You sound like an amazing candidate, but you're too high risk for me. And because you've had so many jobs over such a short period of time, you actually haven't stuck around long enough to build up a skill set or know what it's like to manage a storm, because you've stuck around in the good times and bailed in the bad times. And so you have now been in the workforce for 5 years, but you don't have 5 years of work experience. You have 4 months of work experience.
So here's what I want to say to that. Here's the whole thing with that time on the job bullshit. I take the approach, because when I had a business, I looked at the whole package. Oh yeah, okay, we look back 10 years. If every single job you've ever had, you never stayed, well, I can see some concern. Depends on how many, depends on, what you've done before that. There's jobs where I was there for 8 years, 2, and there's jobs where I dipped the fuck out in 6 months or 3. Here's why. I'll name 3, and I'm not going to say the companies because I don't want to get sued. 3 big players in the mortgage industry, and 1 big player in the media entertainment industry. You probably pay them your cable bill. Let's start with the one with the cable bill. I went through a 3-month hiring process, and somebody brought a gun to class and displayed it to a coworker as if they were going to shoot them. Then when we got onto the floor, obscenities were let's just say spoken while I was on the phone with the client, or at a company that says, hey, well, we just hired you on to get us through our backlog in loans, because I was in the financial service industry. And then, now that we're caught up, we're going to let you go. Not every situation can you control when it comes to time on the job. All you can do is go to an interview, and all you can do is hope that you weren't bullshitted in the interview. And what we forget a lot when we judge candidates on their short-term history with their employer is that it's not always the employee's fault.
And so I don't want you either, because you've never been through a battle, And I see it happening. A young person who's been at a company for 8 months goes to their boss and says, I want a raise. I want a significant raise, because I'm doing the same job as those people. Those people have been in the workforce for 10 years. I know, but I'm doing the same work as them, and I'm doing good work. That's true. You are doing the same work as them, and you are doing good work. The difference is I'm not paying them just because they've obliquely been in the workforce for 10 years. I'm paying them because you know how to hoist a mainsail in calm waters. And you can hoist a mainsail in calm waters as well as they can hoist a mainsail in calm waters. The difference is they also know how to hoist a mainsail in a storm. I don't know if you can hoist a mainsail in a storm. I pay them more because I know that if we run into hard times, I know that they know what to do, and I can trust that we can navigate. And I also know that they will teach you how to hoist a mainsail in a storm. It's like the same reason I buy insurance. I don't expect my house to burn down, but I pay just in case. I'm paying them more for a skill set that I hope they never have to use. That's why they get more.
One of my fears at the moment, which is perfectly linked to what you're saying, is I have a fear, and I've never expressed this openly, so this is the first time, so don't all come for me at once. I have a fear that Gen Z are the least resilient generation that I've ever seen. And a lot of it, and sounds so stupid and not evidence-based, but if you look at what TikTok is telling this generation work is,
not evidence-based. So you're smacking down a whole generation, not evidence-based. Love it. That's a really good way to keep it moving.
And there was a video that went viral on Twitter the other day out in Silicon Valley where it shows like a Facebook employee, one of the big tech companies. She arrives at work in the morning, she takes a photo of her latte. Oh, there's free muffins. She goes over and has the free muffin. It shows her in her TikTok literally doing like 30 seconds of work. Then she's out doing some like pottery making class that work have put on. She comes back to the desk, does another 30 seconds of work. Then she's off to her work social. And I reflect on the storms that my father went through at work. And I just know so deeply inside of me that there's no way some of these younger Gen Z people could weather such a storm.
I'm not downing this, okay? But some aspects of what they are saying are true to some people. But to indict a whole generation based on this is bullshit.
It's not like I don't work on Saturdays. Well, I agree with you. I don't want you working on weekends. This one weekend, I really need your help to finish this project so we can get it out the door. I don't take meetings after 5 o'clock. I agree with you. I think we should have that life balance. But today, I just need you to work till 6 to get this one project done. And to recognize that.
I like the spin. Today I need it. Okay, then, and it's fine. I look, so here's the thing. I totally get what he's saying. You should step aside that one-off, because there's going to be that one-off, and you should do what he's saying. You should do it. There's going to be that one-off, and you better do it. That's bullshit. But what happens with those one-offs is they turn into a second, and then a third, and then a fourth, and then a fifth. So that, hey, can you stay late? Sure, absolutely. That's on a Monday. Wednesday comes. Hey, can you stay late? Number your salary. Okay, your team playing it. Friday comes. Hey, can you stay late? Oh, then there's the third time. And then what happens to be that one-off, like he's saying, like, oh, I just need you to do that right now because it's at 5 o'clock, and well, right now at this particular time, I need you to do it. That's true. If there's a one-off, you should do what he says. But those one-offs turn into a pattern of happening over and over. Then you cover that person's shift and you do that. And then all of a sudden you're doing that job and then you're doing that job. This is their way of testing how weak you are. Boundaries are important and you can't take advantage of people.
They demand that we respect their boundaries, and yet they seem to step on every other boundary about bringing, emotional professionalism at work and dumping all of my problems onto my colleagues, which is emotionally unprofessional. It's like, that's a boundary you can't cross. But there is good evidence to your assertion that this young generation seems less capable to deal with stress than previous generations. That is true.
Gen Zers. From Gen X to Gen Z, I do not think you're lazy. I hope the majority of my generation does not think so, because it's the Gen X's that need to take a close look at how our kids were raised. But I do want to say I don't think you're lazy. I think you got fucked.